Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the Penny Bloom Podcast. We continue with the Robertsons episode 2 today.
Heyo.
Heyo. I am Colton Robertson. I'm joined by my father, Justin Robertson. What's up, Dad?
How are you, buddy? Good to be here.
Oh, I am good. I'm good. I've had a good day. We had a nice little Sunday of Sunday football. How'd you?
It was chock full.
Nice. Spend your day that way?
Currently losing to Griffin, young Nino, in fantasy football. So that's annoying.
Yeah. It's always... he knows his shit, which is what, like...
Well, he wants to bitch about everything.
That's true.
He wants to complain about how... Because he's in 4 different leagues.
Yeah.
And he spends his Sunday complaining about, this one, I can't win this one. As he doesn't even give a fuck about the league we're in.
Our league is the least important to him, which is very funny.
And he's beating my ass.
And it's the only league we're
it's
in.
the only one I'm in, yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Griff. Yeah, no, I'm on a bye this week, so I don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah.
I'm chilling. I'm big chilling. So I actually spent my day not as consumed with football as the past couple of days. We went to Vintage Stock earlier, picked up a couple movies.
Nice.
Very exciting. I got Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yes.
That's Winona Ryder.
I was going to say 90s?
92.
Okay.
Yes, Winona Ryder, Keanu Reeves, Gary Oldman, Anthony Hopkins. I watched that for the first time a week ago, and I was like, you know what? I love this movie.
I recall that being a pretty big deal back then.
I believe it. It's a big budget, big cast. Francis Ford Coppola directed it. So that was the first one I checked off the list. For the, I started watching The Offer, and I'm looking forward to Megalopolis. I was like, I'm going to watch Dracula. So I loved it. So I went and picked it up. Then the other one was David Lynch, The Art Life. And I know we talked about David Lynch last week, but it's a documentary about David Lynch. So...
interesting.
Yeah, and I don't own any This is the first documentary I own, but I really like David Lynch, so I figure it's worth it.
Yeah. Do a little research.
I haven't watched it though. I'm excited to watch it. That's something I'm looking forward to. But
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been keeping an eye on the football, but nothing too crazy. I gotta get my mind right.
I mean, Carolina's beating the shit out of the Raiders right
Andy
now.
Dalton for MVP.
I mean,
lock it in.
who can? When the MVP race is Andy Dalton versus Sam Darnold, you football's good.
Yeah, right. And I feel bad for the Bryce Young kid.
Well, we were texting
this
earlier.
This is just going to
it doesn't help.
Fan the flames of he shouldn't have the job.
Oh, it pisses me off.
Right?
It pisses me off because I didn't realize Andy Dalton was their backup quarterback.
Right. Right. And he's bounced around, obviously.
He's past his prime.
But he's the perfect veteran. I mean, that's an Andy.
That
Reid
is a situation
move,
that
vet backup.
Oh my God! Why the fuck was Bryce Young starting his rookie season if they had Andy Dalton in the back?
I'm pretty sure we'd have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure during the sequence on Red Zone, I don't know if it was our boy Scott Hansen or the actual broadcast, talked about the best offensive output last year was when Bryce Young sat and Andy Dalton played for him because I guess there was Bryce Young was banged up a little bit.
Yeah.
And so they were saying it in terms of, and now look, it's
happening again.
Right.
Yeah, that's rough. I feel bad for him too. I mean, like, just Tom Brady has been talking. Like, there's an interview that Tom Brady did where he's talked about how the game is so sped up now. Like he was a full-blown senior by the time he started at Michigan. And then he sat for 3 years before he started in the NFL. Yeah. And he got a chance to learn and develop. And now it's just, he says the game's been dumbed down. Which I don't know if I agree with that terminology exactly, but he's also Tom Brady, so he's hard to disagree with when it comes to knowing what football's about.
And I mean, maybe not the best terminology there, but that's how it used to be. I mean, those guys would play longer in college. And really now, maybe it was like that then, I don't know, but sadly, like, front office people need to keep their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, and it's all, I mean, it's always been about the quarterback, but it seems like increasingly so,
right.
In recent the past decade, like, we got to get our guy, we got to get our guy, we got to get our guy. And even
you
got
to find your franchise quarterback.
Yeah. And then they don't give him enough time.
No.
And they're done.
And I think people retroactively look at Patrick Mahomes like he burst onto the scene and he was a fucking god.
Right.
He sat for an entire season.
His first year as a starter.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't start as a rookie.
No. That's why, like, whenever people are already out on Caleb Williams, and frankly, watching the first 3 games, I can't blame you for being like, wow, this guy's not ready to be an NFL quarterback, because he's not ready to be an NFL quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not
fall, he was playing for USC.
Yeah. And they didn't win.
It's a different game.
USC wasn't particularly good.
Not
you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so it just pisses me off whenever people talk about them like they're supposed to enter the league and be the best quarterback there is.
Yeah, and I think Patrick Mahomes didn't help that. But to your point, it wasn't like he was a rookie. But his first year, it's like, I think that, like,
he was ungodly.
Amplified everything. Like, oh, it's possible.
Well, and Lamar Jackson was good really fast,
for sure.
and Dak Prescott was good really fast, and like there was a series of dudes who were good very quickly.
Deshaun Watson had a pretty good rookie year.
Yes,
didn't
he did. Yeah, Jalen Hurts.
That freaky boy.
Jalen Hurts has never been as good as he was his fucking rookie
true.
year. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I get why people are excited about it, but that was an anomaly. That's not something that happens. It was just a run of a couple years where dudes came onto the scene.
Maybe they saw enough of it happening. And there was success involved that they're like,
let's just do that.
We can do it.
Yeah.
So,
but you also got to have coaching to do that.
CJ
Stroud's a stud. Yeah.
I mean, it's happening.
No, yeah, that's what I'm like. I think coaching is a very, very big part of it. I've always kind of undersold coaching in the NFL as not as important as I think it is, or as I should regard it.
I guess
coaching is what I'm
huge.
saying.
I think, like, keeping guys mentally healthy, like, an understanding, put them in situations to succeed, have confidence. But also, I think that there's been a big shift over the past 10 to 15 years where the NFL is borrowing offensive schemes from colleges.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so I think that's assisted in quarterbacks coming into the NFL and having success, because it's not an entirely new idea. Yeah. That's the offense they've been running.
Yeah.
So I think that's helped. But Bryce Young, they just came out today, actually, before the game started. I don't know if you saw it, and they said, Bryce Young is still our guy. This is more of we're going to give him a mental rest. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know if that's true.
No, I mean, but it makes sense. If you're getting beat down, it doesn't help. No.
Carolina, Andy Dalton's playing his ass off, and they're smacking
the Raiders.
Yeah, I know, but fuck.
They haven't been smacking anybody. That's what, I get it. This mental rest week that was supposed to help him is absolutely hurting him, which is very, very ironic. Yeah. But I just always root for the young guys. I want them to be good because people expect them to be good, and that's a lot of weight to bear.
You're 1-1.
Yeah.
First round, first pick.
Yeah, there's a lot
of inherent pressure there.
Yeah. I mean, Caleb Williams this year, and people said he's entering the best situation possible for a rookie quarterback because of all his weapons, and the defense is good. He's on the fucking Chicago Bears. They've never had a 4,000-yard passer. They've never had a 30 touchdown passer. Blake Bortles did that.
Yeah.
Blake Bortles threw for 30 touchdowns in a season. Tell me Jay Cutler never fucking did that? That's insane.
And Cutler,
I like Cutler.
Hey, talk about Andy Dalton sighting in Carolina. He played for the Bears.
That's
true.
He
was QB1 a little bit there.
Very briefly, but yeah.
Yeah.
True enough.
Hey, can I say something real quick?
Yeah, what?
Since we're doing a podcast and I can talk.
That's generally the rule of thumb.
So since last week, I've had some people in my demographic reach out through various like text or X. And I just think it's cool that people are interested and they're listening, which I think is awesome. I hope they keep listening. But honestly, I think it's just awesome that we're doing this. And so, frankly, for me, I know that this is your thing. This is your world. It's all about downloads, and it helps you track who's listening, how many people are listening. But frankly, for me, nobody could listen.
Yeah.
And I'd be good with it because we're having cool conversations. We're having fun conversations. It's something that's going to be documented.
Oh, yeah.
Which is neat. I
No,
think
I
that's
really-
really cool. So I just wanted to get that out there a little.
I appreciate it.
But
Yeah.
everything's cool.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I'm
You're going to hold it together.
And but just want to say thanks for the people that are listening.
Yeah.
Hope you continue to do so. But frankly, it's about the conversations we have. So I'm looking forward to many weeks of this.
I do. Yeah, me too. I'm very excited about
I
it.
catch you off guard there.
No, a little bit.
Yeah,
I was wondering where you were going. Can I say something? I was like, like that's what we're doing here, But we are doing nothing but saying things.
Speak, you big dumb animal.
No, but I that's always been kind of the philosophy here too. Is that like the podcast has generally seen several rough months in a row. 2024 has not been particularly good on the analytics side of things, coming off of 2023, which was
Monster year.
Unbelievably good. So we were like, cool. I didn't expect to sustain growth.
Yeah.
I expected to plateau. What I didn't expect was to go downhill. And we went downhill. So September already has been a better month.
Good.
But no, but that's always been the philosophy too. Is we'll always try to do things to vitalize listenership. That's why we've got the other things going on. That's why we've got Death by Television also kicking off today, later on tonight. If you want to go check that out, if you watch The Penguin, you should watch The Penguin. Mm-hmm. We're covering that later tonight. Release date wise, Monday, not Sunday. But secrets. That's why we got the Sentimentalists coming up, and we've got all the different stuff we're doing, because we are trying to do as much as we can to vitalize listenership while still talking about all the stuff we want to talk about. Because we don't want to drop anything. We like talking about it. That's why we do
That's
it.
the whole point.
But it was overloading our podcast with a bunch of random shit that if you aren't a listener, like if you aren't a consistent listener, you're going, holy shit, what the fuck are they doing here? But we love talking about it. That's why we're doing it. It's not because I'm like, I hope this episode gets this amount of downloads.
Right.
No, I like talking about movies. I want to talk about movies.
Yeah.
But movie episodes aren't very popular, but I want to talk about
I'm
movies.
going to talk about the fucking movies.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why the new model here has been a lot of fun, and that's why I'm particularly excited to have this new avenue with you. It's very fun. So we do have a good show today, as we've got a lot ahead. We've got we're going to catch up on the recommendations we had for each other last week, ANDOR and The Offer. We're going to do our second edition of Divisional Dons. Mm-hmm. We're going to do a random number generator, and I'm going to assign each one a number.
Put us on the spot.
Exactly. And then we'll top the show off with our first ever top 5 dead or alive, and we will explain precisely what that is when we get around to it. So let's dig in. ANDOR and The Offer. I am, frankly, far more excited to hear about how you feel about ANDOR than you are to hear about how I feel The Offer. Regardless of how excited you are to feel about how I feel about The Offer, I am more excited about ANDOR. How'd you feel?
What do you think?
I think it was better than you expected. Okay. Mostly because I know for a fact you only had to watch one, and you ended up watching the whole season.
I forgot about that agreement.
Yeah. Oh, well, now I don't know. No.
No,
but
fuck, I just struggled through that whole thing.
No, that shit sucks. No, I think it was better than you thought it would be. Perhaps maybe you weighted how much I like Star Wars, so you knew not to expect the world of it the way that I build it up, but maybe you didn't expect to like it as much as you did.
Well, you didn't oversell it, though. I liked it. Not surprised I liked it. I mean, you usually come with pretty good recommendations. And what's that guy's name?
Diego Luna, the actor.
Luna. I was familiar with him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I liked him. I liked his character. I really did enjoy it. I mean, you had kind of said, hey, if you can get, which is sometimes a red flag, you were like, if you can get through the first 3, I'm like, damn, what do you mean if I get through the first 3?
Yeah, no, that is tough. Yeah. I know. Yeah.
But I will say, the first one, I would say during the second one I was like, okay, okay, I can get down with this.
Yeah.
I do like how it was, broken up, like kind of 3 episode arcs.
Yeah.
And look, it's a story as old as time. I mean, it really is, like, in terms of the Empire is, an overbearing, overreaching government.
Right.
there's the haves and the have-nots.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's
it's the basis of a lot
of
mythology.
So the story is, I mean, the story, anybody can relate to that story because everyone lives it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I thought the characters were cool. I found myself really liking the fucking droids.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And which is funny. I don't know that I've ever told you this.
No.
So I was never a big Star Wars, any of that.
Right.
When I was growing up, and the first three were. I mean, I was.
You were born the year the first one came out.
Yeah,
3 the second, and 6 the third.
Yeah. And my favorite character, R2-D2.
Yeah.
It was always R2. So I don't know if like
there's
I didn't consciously think about that, but I liked B. I liked the little fucking red.
Yeah, B2 emo.
Dude.
Yeah.
That dude was just so
I love
loyal.
him.
He was just down. He was so down for everybody.
Cassian.
Dude.
Yeah, fucking
I mean,
the little stutter he has, which is
always
not
had
normal. It's not a typical
stutter.
thing.
Yeah,
I love it. He's
endearing.
cute.
Yeah,
he's
it was
cute.
endearing. But even like all the aliens,
Marva.
Yeah. And he was stubborn. He would do what, he wanted to do what he wanted to do,
but he was also down to ride. Like if he
Always
knew what
down to
Cassian wanted, he
Yeah.
was like, "All right, I will do that." You
Yeah.
know, he's a sweet little guy
for sure. And I, maybe it's just says more about me than anything else. But I loved all the scenes where there was like alien human interaction because it was just fun. It was either funny,
the two giant alien weirdos
where they were trying to they're trying to steal the whip to travel across the galaxy.
Yeah, that's the good
and
stuff.
they'd mix in like English and whatever it is they spoke.
Yeah.
No, it got me, interested. I mean, I'll certainly watch the second season. I thought overall,
I got a nice little surprise for you. Andor is a prequel specifically to a movie.
See, I'd asked you about. Right, I asked you where it lies in the
yes,
overall...
you did, and it does fall before the first movie. But
the first movie, see, I always get fucked up on this.
I know. Episode 4, the one that came out in 1977, the very first one.
Yes,
it's set before that one.
Okay.
But there is another movie that came out in 2016 that's set right before that one.
Okay,
that one's called Rogue One.
So is Andor set right before Rogue One then?
Yes.
So will I care about Rogue One?
You will. Diego Luna is one of the main characters in Rogue One. It is specifically Cassian Andor is one of the characters in that movie.
Oh, did you do this as a surprise?
I did.
Are you surprised?
I did.
No, you fucking did this to sucker me into watching.
Just that one. I don't think it's. I don't. I
see you working.
Yeah, it's just that one. Just that one.
Okay. All right. I will.
But if you do watch that one, you're like, what was that for?
Well, how are they going to squeeze in a second season?
So, the second season is going to be very ambitious.
Okay.
The first one does not lead. The first season does not lead directly into Rogue One. So Andor is set about 5 years before Rogue One. There were these. Do you remember at the very beginning when it said 5 BBY? Like it was the setting. It was like it popped up on 5. That's 5 years before the Battle of Yavin, which is in Episode 4. Which takes place right after Rogue One. So it's basically giving you a timeline for how far before Rogue One it is. It's 5 years before that. And then the second season is, again, 3 episode arcs, but they're each a year apart. It's 4 years before Rogue One, 3 years before Rogue One, and 2 years before Rogue One.
So you know that
it's been said that the last scene of Andor takes you directly into that movie, which is very interesting. I'm excited to see it. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm ready for it.
So then I'll hold off on watching that.
I would definitely
Rogue
recommend
One.
waiting until Andor season
2.
Yeah, so there's a lot to look forward to there. But yeah, I'm glad you dug it because
I did. I loved how his mom. I mean, there were just a lot of. I don't even know the best word to call it, but I mean, like.
It's really well written.
It's really well written. He kind of lives the same story a few times.
Mm-hmm.
He's being taken from his native land by who would end up being his mom, and then he's taken
this
from,
mentor.
Yeah, and I loved the, spoiler alert for all those.
For those who haven't watched Andor,
when his mom passes and he's not there. hologram, and like how the whole fucking city or
fight
planet,
the Empire.
they're ready. Man.
Yeah,
they're ready.
Oh,
to
I
ride
love
for it.
Ferrix. The planet, the bricks, the way
They're
that the
just down to
bricks
go.
are
Yeah.
cremated remains of
Yeah.
people that are in the like. That's so cool.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of world building that is exactly like that in Star Wars. That the reason I recommended Andor so highly, and a few of the things that I would say to note why you shouldn't feel weird about liking the characters you liked and what you. B is my favorite droid ever.
Yeah.
And that's something we talk about all the time on like Fulcrum. Like, what's your favorite this? What's your favorite that? That droid became my favorite droid. So like that's one of those things where of course you liked the fucking droid.
Yeah.
Andor is my favorite thing in Star Wars besides The Empire Strikes Back.
Of all the shit.
Star Wars. Easily my favorite Disney era Star Wars. It's miles beyond any of the other television they've done. There isn't a single other Disney Star Wars show that I'd be like, you know what, I think you'd dig this.
Right.
You know? And maybe season 1 of The Mandalorian would be that way, but then season 2 immediately starts getting into like, oh, this character from that thing comes into this thing, and it's that. And it's, you know,
there's a lot of
it's like,
connective
oh, well, now I
tissue
need to.
that I wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So to your point, I mean, even the stuff that mattered, like the
Mon Mothma's character and stuff.
Yeah, or even like the 5 years before.
Yeah, didn't really matter.
I didn't need to know that.
No,
yeah,
no,
didn't matter.
Yeah, there are things in other shows that you need to know in order to understand what's happening.
Yeah,
and that's not fun. It is for me because I know all of it,
right.
but it isn't for people who are trying to gain entry. And that's another thing that makes Andor just really, really special. And there's just a lot of great, like Stellan Skarsgård is really good in it as Luthen.
Yeah, Luthen.
What do I sacrifice?
Yeah,
I love that monologue and the bells of Coruscant with the spy.
Well, it was really on time because you do start wondering, like, bro, what the fuck you doing? Mm-hmm. Like, you're a puppet master, like,
right? Get in the shit.
In a way, yeah. Like, what are you really
doing?
What's the skin in the game? You know, like. And even after his little thing there, I wasn't
sold.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, yeah. You're there's plenty you're sacrificing, but you ain't on the front lines, man. Mm-mm. The only reason he was there at the end was he wanted to kill old boy.
Yeah,
I do like how Cassian finds him.
Yeah, and he's like, "Let's do this."
Gets on his ship and he's like, "Yeah, you can kill me, or you can take me in,"
and we're going to
which is another like.
Very similar to the episode 3. Yeah.
Don't
you want to fight these bastards for real? Yeah. There's so many things in that show that I could quote.
And Luthen immediately is like, "Oh, let's go." So yeah, Skarsgård, he's great and everything.
Oh yeah, Forrest Whitaker pops up.
Oh yeah, yes he did.
Yeah.
And he's fucking good, dude. Forrest Whitaker's great in everything.
I love Forrest Whitaker. He's also in Rogue One. That's a character that's a connective tissue thing.
Yeah, he seems like kind of a badass.
I love Saw Gerrera. That's one of my favorites.
It's crazy because the first movie I ever saw that man in was Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Did you ever watch Ghost Dog: The Way of the Samurai?
I did not watch.
That's a great Forrest Whitaker movie.
Is it really? Okay. Yeah, he was like the athlete. He was like the stereotypical, you know. Have you seen Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
It's been a long
Sean
time.
Penn?
Yeah, I know. I'm familiar with the movie.
Okay, yeah. I was about to say it's probably not appropriate for you, but I forgot you're 20,
I'm 24.
You're 24.
Yeah.
So
I'm probably
go ahead and watch that shit.
Yeah, Griffin could probably go ahead and watch that shit.
Probably.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, Forrest Whitaker's been good
for a long
time in a lot of different roles.
Yeah, no, there are just a lot of really interesting the way they display the factionalism within the rebellion during those scenes where Luthen and Saw don't see eye to eye, but Saw and Mon Mothma certainly wouldn't see eye to eye.
Right.
I think that's just a really rich analyzation of what it takes to build a revolution. I think, and I love a lot of the cast members. Remember Vel, the blonde chick?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Did you recognize her?
Made up and cleaned up?
Yeah.
I actually did. You mean when she went from being this rebel?
No, I meant the actress. Do you recognize her from anything else?
I thought she looked really familiar. I did not look her up, though.
Yeah, Game of Thrones. She's the waif. The chick who trains Arya. Yeah. Yeah.
There's another Game of Thrones dude in it, too.
Yes. At the beginning, he plays, he's the guy who's Cyril's Boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's the guy from The Veil who loves Sansa, or like takes care of Sansa, rides with Sansa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but there's a lot of connective tissue with Game of Thrones and Star Wars.
Right. That girl is the one that trained her.
Mm-hmm. Or helped train
for the no face dude.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's just so much to like about that show. So I'm glad you dug it, because I certainly liked The Offer.
Let's go.
I did. I knew I would, because that's one of those things where I like The Godfather. Yeah. It's a great fucking movie, right. And I've always heard specifically about Francis Ford Coppola productions that they are almost impossible to fucking get through. Like they are, the stories have been pretty legendary. Yeah, Apocalypse Now is a pretty notoriously awful experience making the movie.
Even like if you like hear like Rob Lowe or Tom Cruise or those guys that were in
the Outsiders, yeah,
he made that kind of a Lord of the Flies type deal. Like they would come and they would. It was kind of like survival of the fittest. Like they were really put to the test,
right,
to survive filming,
which is not ideal. And the stories that have come out about Megalopolis, which is coming out later this week, real bad. Francis Ford Coppola is obviously not the man he once was.
Right. And it would appear, based on The Outsiders, that it didn't take him long to get there.
No. Yeah, exactly. I imagine that the portrayal of Francis Ford Coppola in this is the most likable Francis Ford Coppola has ever been. You know what I'm saying? Before he'd done anything of note, before he'd been anything, before he'd made The Godfather. Sure. He's trying to prove himself. He wants to be loved. He wants to be liked. He's a good guy.
Yeah. He's trying to make it, man.
So I really, really appreciated that depiction of Francis Ford Coppola, especially as the artist, because that's one thing, regardless of how shitty of a dude he is, he can make a fucking movie.
Yeah.
I mentioned Bram Stoker's Dracula at the top. I watched Apocalypse Now recently. I watched The Godfather last night or 2 nights ago after finishing The Offer. So I really, really appreciated that. A lot of the depictions, I loved Mario Puzo, the way they wrote him. I like the stuff they allude to with like how these people went on to do other things, and the way he like at the end was like, I wrote a 1-page treatment to Warner Brothers and they bought it for $1 million. And he was like, 1 page? What is it? Superman. Yes. And it's like, yeah, fuck yeah. Cause I know Mario Puzo wrote Superman, but I was wondering if there was going to be anything like that.
There's neat little
pull throughs. I mean, Al Ruddy going on to write The Longest Yard and stuff, like that. I didn't know that. I didn't know he made The Longest Yard.
I didn't know that until I watched the show too. And I think, you and I have obviously talked about it, but I'm one of the few people that did not watch The Godfather until, I didn't even watch Godfather. Thank you, Matt Newegg, for making me watch it. I always planned on watching it. It's just, I don't know, man. I'm weird when it comes to shit like that. And
they're just blind spots.
He was like, you're coming over, we're going to watch Godfather 2. And we did that like on a weekend, probably. I was in my 40s.
Right.
So we're talking less than 7.
Within the last several
years. 6-7 years.
Yeah.
And if anybody that's listening, if you love The Godfather, which a lot of people do, The Offer's so good.
Oh, yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
It gives you, like, if I hadn't seen The Godfather, I wouldn't give
You wouldn't give a shit about The Offer.
The show.
Yeah.
It's so good, though.
No, it is. It is. There's, and it made me really appreciate the job of a producer, which is something I've never given a shit about.
Like the show, like the runner,
It's continuously pissed me off whenever I'm watching the Oscars and Best Picture wins, and they trot a fucking guy out there who I've never heard of, who nobody knows. Like when Everything Everywhere All at Once won a couple years ago, which I fucking love. One of my favorite movies ever. I love the Daniels. I love Michelle Yeoh. I love Ki Kwan. I love everybody that was involved with that movie. And they trot some fucking guy up there to accept. He's the one who's winning the Oscar. I'm like, what the fuck did this guy do?
And
it seems like probably a lot,
Yes, exactly. Like, oh shit. Yeah.
And that's something like loving movies as much as I do. This was something that I needed to know.
Yeah.
Something that I was getting more familiar with. I know the producer is not just some guy who fronts cash, and obviously they put a lot on the line. Because they are paying for it most of the time.
It's just crazy to think that what it took for that movie to be like. So people that are listening, they need to watch it to understand like what it really took to get The Godfather made.
There was probably, and I will say this, it made me appreciate the job of a producer a lot more. there's probably never been a producer more deserving of accepting the Oscar than Al Ruddy. If this is to be believed, because it is based off of quote unquote the experiences of Al Ruddy,
right?
Which sounds like he just basically consulted and told them what happened. Which I generally will believe most of the stuff. Now, obviously,
I'm sure there's some embellishments.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's amalgamated characters, and I think they definitely take some liberties with Joe Colombo and the mob stuff, because Al Ruddy can't know specifically what happened,
right?
But we can gather from other histories and stuff and kind of plug and play and stuff like that. Like, I don't buy that Joey Gallo came to set and was like,
"Crazy,
give me $25,000." Or
Gallo.
We're gonna kill you, and then that night Joey Gallo died. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't believe that, but like that's good. That's good television. That's good TV. You know, and so I appreciate that there are things that I can tell are good TV and things I can tell actually happened, and that's a good line to toe. You know, because there's not a lot in the show where I'm like, ooh, did that happen? Like the stuff with Betty, his assistant. 100% happened. All that, like, there's no reason for me to believe that didn't happen. Like her relationship with the CEO of Paramount and him kind of being like hitting on her and stuff, like 100% that happened. You know, the conversation with Marlon Brando she has at the bar where he like hits on her and stuff. 100% believe that happened. You know, that's too specific for it to have not been a thing that happened and too random. You know,
correct.
So like, there's just a lot of stuff like that I really really appreciate. And then watching The Godfather, whenever they get to the production part of the show and they're getting into the weeds a bit, you know, like whenever Francis Ford Coppola comes on set and Al Ruddy shows up and they're like, what the fuck's up with the cat? And they're like, Marlon found it in the alley. He likes it.
Dude, he loved that cat.
Yeah, and Francis is like, I kind of like it. I think I'm in. And Betty's like, you're just the one who doesn't want to tell him he can't have the fucking cat. And he's like, yeah, true, but let's go. You know?
Right.
Yeah, and
that was all Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
And he just let him be himself.
Yeah.
Like, dude wants to fucking hold the cat, let him hold the cat.
Well, and that is something that's really interesting about Francis Ford Coppola, for as specific as he is in his vision. Like, he knows what he wants. There are not a lot of guys who are willing to let you play with dialogue. And it's something that's always been impressive about him and Scorsese specifically, is that they always end up with really, really impressive dialogue.
Yeah.
And they allow a lot of improvisation, you know? And when you have a guy like Marlon Brando, it's easy to go, you know, just go ahead and do you. You know, you've got an understanding for the character. You know what you're doing.
Right.
Do it.
I mean, it was Brando.
Yeah. And frankly, again, it comes to that, like, are you really going to tell Brando he can't do something?
Right.
He's kind of doing you a favor being here.
He is, and that's how it's like told, and I'm sure that's true. But on the other end of that is like you've got a young Al Pacino.
Yeah. Who did need the dialogue, and
who by the way, that character,
the actor who plays him is unbelievable.
He's a Pacino. At that point,
he's
all right.
Got
So,
the fucking.
Sorry, who's your favorite character then in this show?
It's fucking Bob Evans.
That is the only answer. That is the only answer.
And you,
fucking Bob Evans,
fucking kidding me?
God,
you know,
dude.
You've got to be fucking with me.
He is amazing.
Get the fuck out of my office! Like his whole fucking thing. I love Bob Evans. And I looked into Bob Evans after, because I was like, this is there are a few characters that are like obviously real people. Bob Evans, Charlie Blidhorn, the assistant Betty, and you know all the people that you know are real people.
Yeah.
The one that I was like, is that a real person, was Barry Lapidus, who is the money guy, who's a real
Colin Hanks.
Colin Hanks.
Yeah.
Not a real guy. An amalgamation
he was
of
like,
executives. And there are a lot of guys like some of the mob guys. Obviously, they are not depicting real mob guys. This is just a stand-in mob guy. So I looked into Bob Evans. Fascinating fucking dude.
Yeah.
Got locked up like 8 years later for cocaine trafficking.
Which shouldn't shock anybody if you watched it, right?
No, yeah.
I mean,
that's why he's got the fucking...
Yeah.
That's why he sounds like that.
He's nasally, baby. He's
coke all the time.
Yeah, he's got a deviated septum.
Yeah, exactly. Got locked up. Did some time for cocaine trafficking. He was on his Tim Allen shit, but he didn't rat. I loved Bob Evans, and I think that one of the things that I appreciated above all else in the show was how much it loved movies. When Al Ruddy talks about why he wants to be a producer with Francois at the beginning, and he's like, they went and saw what movie did they go see? I can't remember what movie they went and saw, but it was one that I've been like, I've watched, and I was like, yeah, that would make you fall in love with movies. You know what I'm saying? Like, or it would make you remember why you love movies. It was because he was like in the theater, and the people lost their minds at the end of the movie. They loved it. They went crazy. He was like, you don't get this from TV.
That's the whole point. Yeah.
You know, like you don't get this from television.
Yeah.
This is a different environment. And Bob Evans talking to his another producer at Paramount. I can't remember the gentleman's name. I know he's played by Jason Zuckerman, I think is his name. Peter. I would regardless. He's one of the like guys who optioned Mario Puzo's novel when it was barely a thing, and he's the unsung hero, as Bob dubs him at the end of the thing. He's like, and this guy right here, he made it all possible. You know, he's talking to him about why they're going to go watch the dailies from A Love Story.
Yes.
And he's like, do you know why we're going to go watch the fucking dailies? Because it's time to go to temple. You know, because he explains that he wasn't religious when he was a kid, and he didn't know what connected with him about it. And one day he skipped temple and went to the movie theater, and that's where he discovered God. You know, and I was like, you know what? That's fucking awesome. You know,
there was just a lot more to him than just the come here, sweetie.
100% the most nuanced character in the show too.
Yeah.
And I think there was a lot of room for that. And I think that Matthew Good played the hell out of him. Like he was really, really good at that. Whenever Ally McGraw shows up for the divorce, you know, presents him papers, the way that his demeanor changes and the way that
that's when he just starts going south.
Well, he'd gone south prior to that because he went to Texas to surprise her, and she was sleeping with Steve McQueen.
That's right.
And then she calls, and he's like, finally, I'm getting my girl back.
Steve McQueen, R.I.P. to his son.
Oh, really?
Well, I'm pretty sure. I don't want this to be another Kathy Bates
situation. Let's do this again.
I think his son, he was on Karate Kid. He was the blonde kid. I think he passed last week.
Oh, no shit.
Oh, gosh. I hope I'm not spreading. I'm doing it again.
Who's, I'm assuming his name would have been McQueen. Chad McQueen?
Sure.
Yeah. Died on 9/11.
R.I.P. Chad McQueen.
Yeah, Chad McQueen.
He was the blonde dude that was like going to sweep the leg.
Mm-hmm, that's right.
But sorry. I heard McQueen, and I'm like a fucking
R.I.P.
Like ADD.
Didn't know that.
Squirrel.
Yeah, no, but just the way that he could flip his demeanor on a dime, and a brilliant drunk actor, which is something that I think is very difficult to pull off, and drugged out and everything. Like he's just really, really good at that. I was very impressed with just all of it. Really, it's really, really good. And if a show can make me like, I know The Godfather got made. I know it won Best Picture. I know it's considered one of the greatest movies of all time. I'm watching it going, how the fuck are they going to get this movie made? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know all that happened, and I'm still like, how the fuck did they pull this off?
You're still,
you know,
like, brought into it.
And that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And that's difficult to do. So, like, I love Joe Colombo's portrayal in it. I thought they did.
The whole mob part, you know.
Oh, and that's the part where that side gets a little out there, but I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know, they have to, because they're doing something in the show that they're talking about doing in the movie, where they're like, I'm going to make an ice blue story about ice blue story that'll make you hate the people you love, or something like that. And they do a good job of doing that with Joe Colombo, where it's like he's the ice blue fucked up guy who you love, and Al Ruddy's relationship to him and stuff. Like, I think it's I really dug it, and it's probably the most I've ever liked Miles Teller, aside from Whiplash.
See, it's funny because I've, for whatever reason, always been a Miles Teller fan, although I don't necessarily run and watch every movie he's ever done.
Right.
But I've always liked him, and I thought he was great in it.
Did you ever watch Top Gun Maverick?
This is going to go back to that Godfather thing. It took me to my 40s to watch Godfather. I started Top Gun Maverick. Mm-hmm. No, I have not seen the movie. Everybody loves it.
Yeah, Top Gun Maverick's really
good. And I heard
good.
He's great in it.
Yeah, he's good in it.
Well,
that's a really good example of one of those things that I generally like Miles Teller. He's not the highlight of that movie for me.
Okay.
I love Tom Cruise. I love Glenn Powell. Jennifer Connelly. You know, like I love Miles Teller's towards the bottom of the list on the things I love about that movie. He's towards the top of the list on what
So
I love
basically,
about The Offer.
you hate Miles Teller.
I fucking despise him. No, I'm just
Can't stand Miles Teller.
No, I dig Miles Teller. I mean, like that awkward moment with Zac Efron and Michael B. Jordan and him.
Yeah.
That's a good movie.
Yeah, I got one for you that we actually own on our Apple. I'm a big boxing fan, as you know. So bleed for this.
It's
the Vinny
never watched that.
Pazienza,
Yeah.
Vinny Pazienza story.
Gotcha.
He's a boxer. Anyway. That might be
a whole other can of words.
Man,
yeah, no, but ultimately, I'll conclude with this. I really, really enjoyed The Offer, and it's more. If you have watched The Godfather, I think it's key that you have watched The Godfather. You'll
I think
get
so
a little
too.
bit more
I think
out
if
of
you
it.
haven't seen it, then
I don't know. Maybe it'll
it'll
drive
be
you towards
entertaining,
it.
but
yeah.
like,
yeah, maybe
it's
it'll
just-
drive you towards it though. Maybe it will
That's
make you
true.
go, oh, you know what? It took all this to make this movie.
But
Maybe
who the
I ought to
fuck-
watch this.
Who the fuck hasn't watched The Godfather?
The other night, I was talking to Emily because I had just finished The Offer, and I was like, I want to watch The Godfather tonight. She's like, you do?
She hasn't seen it.
No, she hasn't watched The Godfather. But
Good
like,
for
it's.
her.
I mean,
I-
like, it's a
relatable.
3-hour movie. You know, like
It's long.
It's a big one, and that's a main gripe for her. You know, I will not be watching this movie if it's longer than this.
I know, it's so funny. You and I have talked about it before. Like, I will sit and watch a series,
Yeah,
a show that has 10 1-hour episodes.
you watch 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, I'll watch 2, 3, and be like, oh, but man, I don't want to watch that 3-hour movie. Which is
See,
stupid.
I'm different. I love a long movie. So like, and she's toughed it out for me a couple times. Like we went and saw Killers of the Flower Moon together in theaters, and
Yeah.
I appreciated that because that movie was like 3.5 hours long.
Yeah,
like that's a big one.
Scorsese.
Yeah, it's Scorsese. Well worth it.
It's his job.
But yeah, so The Offer and Andor, well worth anybody's time.
I agree.
And we can move on to Divisional Dons.
Do it.
All right, Divisional Dons, baby. Let's find out which division we're going to be discussing today.
How are we doing it?
I'm pulling up the random number generator.
Okay.
I have assigned each one a number in my head.
I love it. So
1
last
through-
week we did AFC West.
Yeah, which
Okay.
will de facto be 8. We're going north, north, east, east, south, south, west, blank.
Got it.
So let's see what it is. 2. So it is the NFC North, which is a great division. I love the NFC North.
So we got Lions,
Packers, Bears, Vikings.
Vikings. Oh man.
So let's start with the most difficult one to get out of the way, which is the Packers, because I know who is historically one of my favorites when I was younger, who has just aged out of being capable of being my favorite, which is Brett Favre.
Yeah. Do you want to go?
Yeah, I can go.
Okay.
I think I luckily we already discussed how he would probably be a double favorite for me. Charles Woodson. Charles Woodson.
And he already is.
Already, first 2 weeks,
First
he's
2 weeks
already
we're
my
knocking
double.
out Charles
He's already
Woodson.
a double. I think I would have to go with Charles Woodson because there's a lot of great Packers. You know, I love.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's the Pack.
it's the Pack. I love Donald Driver. I was a big Donald Driver guy when I was younger. One of my favorite receivers.
Absolutely.
Moving into the modern era a little bit, Jordy Nelson. I like Jordy Nelson a lot for a long time.
K-State guy.
Yes,
Kansas boy.
Yes, indeed. I mean, I don't like Aaron Rodgers. I know some people do. In fact, him and Brett Favre might be 2 of my least favorite Packers now, which is kind of unbelievable. Najee Davenport, remember that guy?
Dude, you really. What about were you a Clay Matthews guy at all?
I was all right with Clay Matthews. You know, the thing that really what's difficult.
AJ Hawk,
I did enjoy AJ Hawk.
because I know you like your linebackers.
Exactly.
So both of those are.
The problem is, if we're looking into the Aaron Rodgers era, I was not a huge fan of the Packers anymore. I liked the Packers when I was younger. And A.J. Hawk overlapped with Brett Favre quite a bit. But I don't think Clay Matthews barely did, if he did at all.
Okay. Antonio Freeman. Remember him at all? Was that a guy at all?
Very, very vaguely. Not specifically. They had a D lineman that I really, really liked.
I know who mine. I think I know who mine is.
Who is it?
Reggie White.
Ooh, good choice. That is a good
When you
pick.
said D lineman, I thought maybe that's where you're headed, so I wanted to cut you off there.
No, it's I can't remember. I don't know how to pronounce his name, which is the problem. I just remember liking him a lot. He's also on TV now. He does a lot of
Oh no, you're talking about like a more recent player.
yes,
He's an offensive lineman.
He's an offensive lineman.
Because he's the one that could chug beer. He was like at a hockey game and
Not
fucking
that
chug.
guy.
Oh,
Not that guy.
okay. Shit.
Yeah. Okay. But Reggie White, explain that pick for me.
Well, I mean, what is there to say? Really, I mean, he was amazing.
He was a guy. He was insanely good.
Yeah, and I guess the best way to explain it though is it always would have been Brett Favre.
Right.
But thought Brett Favre was a big piece of shit.
Ooh,
and
yeah,
so
bad person.
I know, dude. And here's the thing: your grandma and I, the last year he was in Green Bay,
Kabir Gubasha Amelia. Do you remember that guy?
I
loved him.
Probably,
I loved him. But go ahead. Sorry.
I was so huge Brett Favre fan. Like I mean, you could ask any friend of mine that would tell me how stupid I was because I would call him like a top 3 or top 5 quarterback when he was in his prime, and he probably wasn't, all right, but he threw a lot of touchdowns. I love the way he played. I mean, your grandma and I. So Grandma Jane was a big fan too, and the last year in Green Bay, we thought he was going to retire, so we bought tickets.
Lambeau,
yeah, we went to Lambeau, did the whole fucking thing.
I remember sending you guys out the door when you were about to leave for Green Bay. Actually,
yeah.
Go Pack, go!
Go Pack, go! And I brought back not a terrible towel, but a pack towel.
Little football.
Yeah.
I remember it.
And like I had his jersey. I mean, I'm a grown fucking man at this point, which is kind of embarrassing. I had his Green Bay jersey.
There are far worse people. Like
I had his Jets jersey.
One of the best things
and
about
I had
watching
his
the
Vikings jersey.
Yeah.
I owned all those. Fucking
I think
jerseys.
I did too.
Yeah.
I think I did too.
But and so it would have been him with a bullet
10 years ago.
Oh yeah,
5
until
years
I found
ago,
out he stole
6 years ago, 7 years. There's been some more stuff too.
Yeah, I mean the dick pic to the girl wasn't great.
That's when you're like, man, dude, come on now. The smuggling or the skimming off the top.
Yeah, the defrauding from poor people.
That's bad. That's
fucking disgusting.
You are a terrible person.
So that's so this was really off the top of my head because it always would have been Brett Favre. Charles Woodson, I love. I mean, he could have been there for me. I mean, Reggie White though. I mean, you could argue Reggie White is the reason that Brett Favre has a Super Bowl.
Right.
That Super Bowl, Reggie White was in the twilight of his career, and he was a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, Reggie White was good. Reggie White was good,
and I'm pretty sure he was a pastor.
Oh no shit!
So he's a man of God. Yeah, like I think that no, that's a Walter Payton Man of the Year. But I mean, he was like revered and
in Green Bay
nationally because he started as an Eagle.
Right. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he was a Philadelphia Eagle, and he finished his career. I think he finished in Green Bay, but just a game wrecker. Always got to the quarterback.
Right.
He was. I mean, I would say, you put Reggie White in the Lawrence Taylor, Bruce Smith, like they made sacks.
Michael Strahan. He has the record for the most sacks in a single season.
Brett Favre fucking gave him that.
That's true.
If you go back and look, Brett Favre gave himself up, which is the first moment I should have known. Fuck we doing here, Brett?
You don't have the dog in you.
Yeah, you're just going to let this man get the fucking record because you're buddies? And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Strahan was good, but like those three guys, Reggie White, Bruce Smith, Lawrence Taylor, I mean, they did it year in, year out.
Right.
And they were the ones, I think. I mean, it was around that time that they started actually counting sacks.
Right.
Like late 80s, early 90s, whatever. Maybe before that. I don't know. I'm just assuming nobody knows.
Yeah, nobody knows.
I'm just going to act like I know.
Yeah, that's the whole point of podcasting.
Yeah. So Reggie White.
Yeah.
And so Charles Woodson for you.
Absolutely. I kind of gave my explanation for the Raiders last week.
Before you fucking threw out Najee.
I love Najee Davenport.
You did.
Mostly because Madden.
See, in your young early years, you were.
I love the Packers. Because you're a Packer fan. Yeah.
Packer. Let's go.
No, and it's funny because you've obviously evolved a lot as a human, generally.
A little bit.
You used to get much more riled up at sports games on TV. And I specifically remember Packers games being just awful.
just you didn't know what might happen.
I was like, I hope the Packers win,
Because fuck, man, that's so awful.
No, but like it was never at like the cost of me or anything. It was just going to be like, that's going to be a bad mood tonight if the Packers don't win, which is funny because it was the Green Bay Packers, in retrospect.
But it actually coincides with some dark years for the Chiefs.
It does perfectly, actually.
And that was kind of I know we've talked about it. I know me and Griff and Q, we've all talked about it. some people are just fans of players, and so then I will say Brett Favre is one of very few that I was a fan of the player.
And it became
because then I was a Jets fan.
Yeah.
I just loved the way he played. He was,
I'm generally I mean, and this helps that Kansas City doesn't have a team. Basketball is where I kind of reside with players.
It seems to be that with basketball.
Yeah,
the NBA figured that out. They marketed that way.
Oh yeah,
and it worked for them.
Oh, for sure.
And yeah,
no, but I Charles Woodson and Reggie White feels like a good landing place there, especially in the wake of Brett Favre being an absolute piece of shit. But
just a big old giant piece of shit.
Just a big old piece of shit.
So at the end of this,
guy.
At the end of this, we should go back and review like how many are offensive and how many are defensive players.
I'm down for that.
Okay, so
next we'll do the Vikings.
Brett Favre. No.
I went with the toughest place to go next because I don't really love any Vikings.
Okay.
Off the top of my head.
Understandable.
One of those things where Adrian Peterson's in a similar boat as Brett Favre. He didn't defraud a bunch of kids, but he defraud a bunch of poor people, but he did hit his kids with switches.
I do think they're two very different things. I will say this, and we might lose half our listeners.
Yeah.
I don't think they're on the same level.
No, I agree with that.
Okay. Yeah.
I agree with that. It's just it's enough to keep me from picking Adrian Peterson as my favorite.
These kids got to fucking learn, man. Sorry, I'm kidding. So okay, I mean he's an all-time player,
right? Oh yeah, no doubt.
The great,
one of the best running backs that, like, at the peak of his career, was unstoppable. Let's see. I mean, who do you have in mind?
I got a few. Chris Carter jumps to mind.
That's a good pick.
As Chris Berman, Boomer would, all he does is catch touchdowns. Like Chris Carter. I mean, fucking Randy Moss.
That's true. That's true.
John Randall was a interior defensive player that was a fucking menace. I know that they had some linebackers back in the day, but I mean, really for me, like, I mean, Randall Cunningham. I know he played most of his career in Philly, but Randy Moss's rookie year, Randall Cunningham had a monster. Dante Culpepper.
Mm-hmm. Dante Culpepper was big for me when I was younger. I loved his last name.
Yeah,
you
loved it. Yeah, I remember you loved Dante Culpepper.
Yeah, that's a good pull because I'd completely forgotten about him. Culpepper was a big one. I'm trying to think of. Culpepper probably was my favorite Viking when I was younger. Randy Moss is hard to pass up though because I did love Randy, and that photo shoot he did with Kevin Garnett, who was my favorite Timberwolf of all time. Whenever we get there, but where they were in each other's jerseys and stuff, and they're holding the basketball. Like I'm nostalgic for that.
I mean, my favorite, straight cash, homie.
Yeah, straight cash, homie.
When they're asking how he's going to pay for those fines, he doesn't write a check. Straight cash, homie.
Yeah,
and I love that he played basketball with White Chocolate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Jason Williams. They were boys. And he was a freak in basketball. I'm gonna. It sounds like you might be settled on Randy Moss.
I think I am.
I'm gonna take Chris Carter.
It's a good choice.
Chris Carter had all the talent in the world. I loved him. Post career in terms of like he did a lot of broadcasting and stuff like that. He was a mentor to Randy Moss,
right?
And the dude could fucking flat out play.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go Chris Carter.
Chris Carter and Randy Moss feels good too. Yeah, I wish more Vikings could have jumped out to me, but like they just don't.
I'm sure there's. I mean, they had a running back that was good, Smith, which I mean, everybody's got
really
Smith.
limits it
You know what
down.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Robert Smith,
Cordero Patterson.
Yeah,
it
was Robert Smith, by the way. He was an All-Pro.
Bob Smith.
A lot. Bob
Smith.
Who else?
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't really fucking matter.
No, because mine is Randy Moss. I don't think I will land on anybody besides Randy Moss.
That's a good choice. I'd have taken Randy Moss, but you took him, so fine.
Let's go Lions. Barry Sanders.
It's the easy pick.
It is the easy pick. Mine's Calvin Johnson, and I'm very confident in that.
I respect the hell out of that.
It was. I mean, my teenage years, he was the best wide receiver in the league. I thought he was one of the coolest motherfuckers alive. it was unstoppable. Megatron, the best, one of my favorite receivers to watch in my entire life. Yeah. I loved Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, I can't argue that. I mean, really, I've become a fan of Matthew Stafford over the years. I think he's a terribly underrated quarterback.
I agree with that.
I think he was doing shit that Patrick Mahomes does. I think he was doing it years ago. Like,
I agree.
He would do no look shit. I mean, he had
Matt Stafford's nasty.
He had arm talent. I love that.
Detroit just had terrible coaching in those years and front office management.
I mean, you ran off the greatest running back in NFL history.
Yeah.
And so for the reason I'm saying that, Barry Sanders is mine.
Right.
Because I was a Walter Payton guy forever. Even when like people would be like, no, Barry Sanders, no, Walter Payton. Well, finally, it was like, you know what, you're right.
Yeah.
Jim Brown might be, but I never fucking saw Jim Brown.
Yeah, you never got to watch Jim Brown. Yeah.
Yeah, Barry Sanders for me.
Barry Sanders, that's a good choice.
It was funny. Your cousin Jameson, he was over, last time they were here for whatever holiday they were here for, and we were down in the basement. And he was looking at like some of my signed sports memorabilia stuff, and he saw the signed pylon, the orange pylon, the Barry Sanders, and he was like, "Who signed this?" I said, "Barry Sanders," and he was like, "Barry Sanders." I'm like, "Come on, dude." So I turned on YouTube with highlights, thinking, this is a moment. This kid needs this.
He'll know Barry Sanders.
He needs to be baptized in this fucking era of football, and Barry Sanders. He pretended to care.
Couldn't give a shit. Yeah.
Fucking could not care. Yeah, he maybe lasted a minute, and he was fucking off
fuck
the
this.
dogs. Yeah. But Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders. Okay, sure. Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson. I think those are a good couple choices, and we'll land with the Bears lastly. The Bears. And the Bears will branch us into our last topic, too, by the way. The Bears. Who's your favorite Bear of all time?
Bill Sayers. No.
Robbie Gould.
I mean, the first one would be Walter Payton.
Yeah, you just mentioned it. Yeah.
Payton. I'm trying to not be so obvious, but I mean, how do you not go with, like, the greatness?
Dick Butkus.
Dick Butkus was, but I never watched him play.
Right.
It would have been Urlacher, but I'm pretty sure where he stands on things.
It's also not great.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I did love
Urlacher at the time, too.
Okay, I'll throw one out there that I even liked as a coach, and he's been probably memed. Not going to do it. Can't do it. Can't coach him. Mike Singletary. He's probably one of, I don't know, top 10 linebacker of all time.
Yeah.
So he's probably Devin Hester.
Devin Hester.
Not fucking talk about Devin
Hester,
bro.
Was one of my first thoughts.
Is that yours?
I loved Devin Hester when I was younger. I don't know that I'll land on Devin Hester.
Okay.
But he's definitely up there. I loved Devin Hester. I mean, frankly, I liked Jay Cutler. I did.
He was always just so smug.
Oh yeah.
People didn't like him, but like if you look back, it's like he's kind of funny.
He was kind of endearing.
Yeah.
I kind of liked him before that.
Yeah.
Jay Cutler.
Jake fucking Cutler.
I love Jay
Kyle.
Cutler.
Kyle Orton.
Kyle Orton. Yeah.
Kyle Orton.
Not
Not to be confused with like a pro wrestler.
Yep. Yeah.
Randy Orton.
Randy Orton or Gold Dust.
Yeah.
No, that's Rhodes. Those are the Rhodes.
Whoa.
Yeah. It was mixing the Ortons and Rhodes. Yeah, the WWE might be an eventual topic there, but Devin Hester, tough to pass up there because he was my first thought, and I grew up on Devin Hester.
Though.
Well, that was the thing is I grew up loving Urlacher, so like I didn't focus on anybody else on the Bears because I loved Brian Urlacher.
Lance Briggs was a linebacker Briggs, that was good. Do you remember
call.
him? Yeah.
I forgot about Briggs. I did like Briggs a lot. Yeah, Lance Briggs was a big one, but I couldn't tell you honestly I liked him more than Devin Hester. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really, really enjoyed the way Hester played, and I mean, he was so electric on returns. Like, he made that fun.
Yeah.
If he was back there, it was like, he might take this thing to the fucking house.
Oh, yeah.
Which is not something you can say for hardly any other fucking player.
Didn't he just get inducted into the...
I'm pretty sure.
I think he's, like, basically the first returner ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
he's a wide receiver, but yeah.
Was he not a defender?
I don't think so. I thought he was a wide receiver.
You might want to look that shit up.
Let's see.
I know he played some receiver. I'm pretty sure he was a defender, and that's how he
wide receiver and return specialist.
Damn, really?
Yeah. Also went to the U.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he might be on my helmet downstairs. He's before that. That was 2001. Okay, well, for the sake of time, Chiefs are going to start here in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Not to rush it because,
we're facing the Falcons.
Yeah.
Hopefully that doesn't age poorly.
Damn, you just had to say that.
I'll post this tonight. Won't have to age poorly.
So I'm gonna go Walter Payton for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
Walter Payton, Man of the Year award, sweetness.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Devin Hester. I feel good about that.
Okay.
I enjoy Devin
like
Hester
that.
a great deal.
I like that.
And so with that, we can conclude this episode with our top 5 dead or alive.
New segment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Pops for this one.
Top 5 dead or alive.
All him. So this is something that can be quite recurring. We can do this anytime we want, whenever
it's
we
just
want.
A fun exercise.
Top 5s. It can be anything, dead or alive.
Yeah.
Sometimes both.
Yeah.
And we're going to do Saturday Night Live cast members today.
Saturday Night Live cast members.
And we are going to try our best to limit it to their time on SNL.
Yeah.
Not what they did after or anything. Although there's some overlap in terms of effect for me.
Naturally.
Yeah. But yeah, so we'll start at the bottom. We'll go to the top. Maybe throw out some honorable mentions at first. Kind of mention the people who fell short. I mean, there's to limit it to 5 was extraordinarily difficult.
You might be impressed. I did notes.
Oh, you did.
I did notes.
You took down segments and stuff. I'm assuming skits that they were known for.
A little bit, but more just where my head was at.
Mm-hmm. Mine's a list of people.
Yeah, those
are my notes.
So, well, fucking bragger. So many missed. I like Norm Macdonald is not a top 5 for me, but fuck, I mean, Kristen Wiig, Tracy Morgan, Andy Samberg,
good choice.
Adam Sandler did not make my top 5.
Nor mine.
Rachel Dratch, Will Forte, Fred Armisen, Amy Poehler, Chevy Chase.
All
did
good.
I mention Eddie Murphy? Eddie Murphy did not make my top 5.
Damn.
Well, I mean, it was one season. Also, this kind of applies to what we talk about with football. I didn't watch a lot. Like some of these, I put on my honorable mentions: Bill Murray, Eddie Murphy, Chevy Chase.
Because they were before you.
Never watched it. Yeah, never watched it.
Yeah, I mean, we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of SNL next month.
David Spade, Dana Carvey. I mean, these are,
yeah.
Not on my list.
Not on your list. Yeah, I've got a few, and they're more from again an era thing because I don't have Will Ferrell. I don't have David Spade. I don't have any of those. I don't have any of those guys that came from that era.
You don't have them even on your top 5. Like
not on my top 5. I have them on my.
But you have my honorable mentions.
Yeah, I don't have Jason Sudeikis. Who
I didn't put him on. Yeah,
I don't have Jason Sudeikis. Seth Meyers didn't make my list. Kate McKinnon didn't make my list, which was really, really tough.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
so you're saying you hate women in comedy.
Hold up for my top 5. Some of the toughest cuts to make were Kate McKinnon.
It has to be.
Yeah. Nasim Pedrad is a personal favorite of mine. I fucking loved her on SNL. Cecily Strong. Oh my God, difficult to cut. Vanessa Bayer.
You kind of had a crush on Cecily Strong.
I loved Cecily Strong. Yes, I did. I had a huge crush on. And now
Weirdo.
I think you should leave. You took your little boy dick and jerked it until nothing came out. That's a fucking hilarious. Vanessa Bayer also in I Think You Should Leave. Gulpin' Pig Dicks with my slut friends, and I Think You Should Leave. She was on SNL for years. I love Vanessa Bayer.
She's funny.
I think she is.
There's actually a
funny.
Kansas City girl that was recently,
Mm-hmm.
and she was funny. I can't remember.
I can't remember her name either. But my top one out, 6th.
Okay.
Melissa Villaseñor. I love Melissa Villaseñor.
You do love
after
Melissa
Cecily
Villaseñor.
Strong, there was Melissa Villaseñor, and this was just a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I fucking loved the way that she talks,
dude, everything.
and everything.
Yeah.
The way she presented information, she is fucking funny, man.
She
And
is.
she can sing her fucking ass off. I actually went and saw her
ultra
live.
talented.
I saw her live in a comedy show. Me and Emily went and saw her a couple years back. She complimented my hair. She said it was beautiful.
Damn, really?
Yeah.
I don't think you ever told me that.
Yeah, we were sitting stage side, and
Why
she's
is
like, right when she walked on stage, I was sitting right there, and I was like, and she was like, "You've got good hair, kid. You got good hair, man." I was like,
This is
"Thank
the first
you."
time I'm hearing this.
Oh yeah. Well, anecdotal value.
Yeah. Perfect. Put that in your fucking pocket and just kept it for the perfect time.
Melissa Villaseñor, baby.
Fucking
yeah. So
Melissa Villaseñor.
sadly, 6th though of all the SNL cast members ever.
Yeah, gosh. 6 for me would probably be Kristen Wiig.
Ooh, so you hate women in comedy? No, but give me five. Give me five.
I left her out. 5 is okay. In terms of longevity, hold on. What I always told you boys, more so Griffin because he's always hurt,
right,
is the best ability in sports is availability. It's not coachability. It's you got to be available. You got to be healthy.
Right. You got to be there.
This guy, longevity, consistency, reliability, availability. What's up with that?
What's up with that?
Kenan Thompson, man. I mean, the dude has been doing it.
This is a perfect overlap. He is also my 5.
Is he your 5?
He is also my 5.
Good pick. Good pick. Obviously.
And that is exactly the same. It's exactly the same reasons.
And he's grown on me. Like I don't necessarily think this motherfucker out there, and he's not. He's a good straight guy.
Yes.
Like he'll. And
the everyman role in those skits, he's perfect at that.
And the way he delivers it, he's good.
Fucking hysterical. And that's something you can say for all these people is that they're fucking funny. But he, I mean, to be on SNL as long as he's been and to never have any issues, it feels like people always leave SNL in a dramatic fashion. You know?
And we're talking about a guy that was a child star, right?
Yeah, he was on Kenan and Kel, he's a long history of fame, and SNL nearly 20. I think this is going to be his 20th season, 21st, something like that.
At least, yeah.
He's been on the show for over 20 fucking years. So Kenan Thompson was also my 5.
Okay.
What about 4?
The woman you hate, Kate McKinnon.
I love Kate McKinnon. I love Kate McKinnon.
There'll be a theme with the rest of these. My top 4. It's just their overall appearance, their overall demeanor, facially, like the
alien,
the delivery,
the alien abduction stories.
A Close Encounter with Ryan Gosling.
Fucking hilarious.
She plays.
Yeah, that ain't how that happened to me. I fucking love that
plays
segment.
Crazy, trashy, or just off the wall shit. I mean, even like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she played her on Weekend Update.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things is when a comedian and a lot of these people can do like imitations, and they're not really trying to be exactly like them. They're adding
imitating
their own shit. Yeah, they're a parody.
They're elevating
it.
Yeah.
Kate McKinnon.
Kate McKinnon's a goodie.
Her crazy ass eyes.
Yeah, I had a tough time limiting it to 5, and I left off some ones that I should have mentioned earlier. Andy Samberg missed the cut for me too.
Wow, that surprises me.
Andy Samberg is more outside of SNL than it is inside SNL. I love what he's done since, and I loved what he did on SNL. Obviously, like one of my favorite segments of all time. What you say? That's one of my favorites. I dear sister. That whole thing, one of my favorites. But
SNL Shorts.
Yes, SNL Shorts. Generally, the person from that era, one of those people from that era that I just adore is Maya Rudolph.
Love her, I
love
her more.
She's at my 4 actually. She's in my top 5. So I was trying to, that era, I kind of associate them with each other. And she's got a similar thing going on as Kate McKinnon for me in that you mentioned the impersonations and the way she does a few of them, but it's obviously Maya Rudolph doing that.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite things that's why Jay Farrow doesn't succeed as much in this is because he's just really, really good at impersonating people.
Yeah.
Which is impressive.
It is.
But it's not as funny.
Some of the more memorable and great characters are ones that just made it just ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Will Ferrell with George Bush.
Yeah.
George W., now...
Her with Kamala Harris and stuff. Like, she's really good as Kamala Harris.
Really good.
But it's because she's not exactly Kamala Harris. And it's Maya Rudolph doing Kamala Harris. And that's I like the identity of a comedian in that.
I immediately go to... the SNL Christmas special we watch every year as a family.
Yes.
Santa's my boyfriend.
And
her and Amy Poehler and Kristen Wiig are in it.
Yes. Yeah. That's, she's one of the Dick in the Box chicks.
Yes.
Take a look inside.
She's...
all over the history of that show.
Yeah.
She's everywhere.
She's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So I had to get Maya Rudolph in my top 5.
Okay. Number 3. For me, Bill Hader. Hader? I barely know her. Oh, so bad. That was so fucking bad. What I think I loved immediately with him is he wasn't afraid to break. He would break and he'd laugh and he'd have, that's funny to me. But Californians, Vincent Price, like I don't know if you Keith Morrison from Dateline. Have you ever seen his shit? I have. Like, that's fucking.
Oh, he's perfect.
Perfect.
He's perfect.
And so this is legit. I know you mentioned earlier. This is all SNL. It's not post SNL, but I did love
also post SNL.
I did love good. Barry.
I've never watched Barry, so like that's one of those.
That might be on the. And then lastly, Stefan.
That's the one I was hoping you'd mention.
There's no way
Stefan is the best.
Yeah, you can't mention him without Stefan.
There's this spot I absolutely love. Yeah, I love the way that
and he would always he'd laugh his way through it. He couldn't get through it.
When Seth Meyers was leaving the show
and
he was the one who showed him around New York for his last segment and stuff. Like I loved it. Yeah, Bill Hader, he is so fucking funny. And well worthy of the top 5 spot here. My 3 is Fred Armisen.
Okay.
Fred Armisen is fucking hysterical.
And that's kind of your Bill Hader.
Yes.
They overlap. They did a lot.
They did a lot together.
Yeah.
Californians.
Yeah.
I actually I'll save it. But Fred Armisen, I absolutely adore his entire brand of comedy. And that has seeped into other things. Like I love Portlandia. His skit show. I think it's so fucking funny. I absolutely love that show. And he's the rare one where I'm willing to wrap what he's done elsewhere into SNL because it's all the same. You know, like Barry.
I thought the rules were we couldn't do that.
No, and I'm not. But that's the thing is that Barry is obviously very different than what Bill Hader was typically doing on SNL.
Oh, yeah.
Fred Armisen has been the fucking guy lane. He was on SNL.
That's his lane.
Everywhere anything he's done, he brings that energy to it. So I love Fred Armisen for that. So he's my 3.
I dig it. I respect it.
Yeah.
Number 2 could probably easily number 1 on a lot of lists, if not for who my number 1 is. Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
I know he didn't make your fucking top 5, but and I think for a lot of people, like he's done so much after SNL, but he everything he did was just. I mean, he did Robert Goulet. He did like his more cowbell,
cowbell. Yeah.
And by the way, we should think about doing like
SNL hosts.
Yeah, because
maybe just skits.
Because Christopher Walken killed it in that. And
ladies and gentlemen,
the way he played the
Foo Fighters.
Well, I got a fever, and the only prescription is
more cowbell. Yeah.
And Will Ferrell's like, I'm gonna play the hell out of this cowbell. Yeah, and he's
I mean, you mentioned the Christmas special we watch every year, the one where he's spinning in a circle, just like
throws up,
vomiting everywhere, fucking hysterical.
But everything, like there were a lot of physical comedy. Like he did one with Rachel Dratch, who I thought was funny too, where they were like lovers.
Yes,
you know, and they were like in a hot tub, and he made more people break on that show, I think, than anybody ever. There was one that was like maybe 2 weeks after 9/11, and it was a skit where people were encouraged to wear like a patriotic thing, you know, maybe a pin or something on their sleeve or on their lapel.
Yeah,
and he walks in
full blown,
just bikini bottoms of the American flag and like a half shirt that says USA.
Yeah,
he was. Yeah, Will Ferrell.
Good pick there. My 2's Bill Hader. So you said Fred Armisen's like you're Bill Hader. No, Bill Hader's my Bill Hader. I love Bill Hader, and it was Stefan was always the highlight for me. I fucking loved Stefan. I could watch those infinitely.
Yeah.
And I would never get tired. I think that he is so fucking funny. You mentioned all the things I loved him in, you know, Californians and his Dateline. It's
Keith Morrison.
Yes, he was just so fucking funny.
Set it up, just like that.
He was always so fucking funny. So I had to go Bill Hader too.
All right, I dig it.
Is that the only overlap we have?
It is. Well, no, we had Keenan.
Oh, true. We both went at 5. Yeah, Keenan and Bill Hader. All right, who is the GOAT? Who is your favorite SNL cast member ever?
For me, it's an easy choice. Very deserved. Chris Farley.
Chris Farley.
Yeah. And I'm showing my age, but
I mean, if I could, I would have.
Everything he did was fucking hilarious.
I just never got to watch him.
Physical comedy. He made Adam Sandler break
in a van
so many times. Yeah, Matt
down
Foley. Matt
by
Foley's
the
the
river.
first. I'm Matt Foley.
Yeah.
I'm your motivational speaker. Like Matt Foley is the first thing I listed here. He was like Gap Girls with him and David Spade and Adam Sandler. He did this Bennett Brower character that would use air quotes on
The wrong.
no on like he was kind of a pathetic character that like he'd be like, well, some people say I don't read well, and like he quotes read well, and like I need to brush my teeth more, and like he like air quote shit that like he
You should be doing, like that is objectively
it's
correct.
So fucking funny, dude.
That's fucking funny.
And then lastly, a big one was to Lunch Lady, where he played literally the lunch lady when Adam Sandler sang that, and the Bears. To your point,
the Bears,
where he's like, "Oh yeah," and he has a heart attack.
Yeah,
The Bears.
Yeah, no, it's
that makes a baker's dozen for me. You know, like he's like slamming his chest.
That's a classic. Chris Farley. Yeah, I can't. If I had ever gotten to watch him, he'd be in my top 5.
Okay,
and he just didn't.
Oh, so good.
And
so
I went
tragic.
with more with what I was able to.
Oh yeah.
Directly address.
That's fair because all those ones I listed, like Eddie Murphy and all those guys, I never got to watch them.
I wouldn't have, and that's why like Chris Farley's the one that I feel the most shortchanged for having missed out on.
So great.
So fucking funny. But my top one.
Let me think.
You
no, I'm so.
I'm rounding out the Californians, baby. My one is Kristen Wiig.
Is
I
she?
love Kristen Wiig.
Yeah, Kristen Wiig is really
good.
She
so
probably,
funny.
now that I'm looking back on this, maybe I threw Kate McKinnon as a shock one.
I mean,
if we're being honest,
they occupied a very similar spot in the show for a long time.
There are so many things. I judge a lot of it, though, on if I quote or if I think of certain stuff.
Yeah.
Like Will Ferrell, Chris Farley. There's shit Kristen Wiig has done.
She is so fucking.
Where she's like,
I think it's a segment her and Cecily Strong would do together, where they were like Valley Girls who were like on like a QVC type show.
Yeah.
And they would talk like that, and they would and they would present the product, and like that whole thing. I fucking love that skit.
Did you ever see the one where she was like the Target lady and she was just so happy for everybody?
Yes.
Fucking I look for that GIF weekly, where I'm like, I just want to like, she's always like throwing her arms up and like fist pumping everything. Like it's
That's Kristen Wiig and the Californians. They are my top 3 actually.
Yeah.
Kristen Wiig, Bill Hader, Fred Armisen ended up rounding out my top
Damn,
3.
no shit.
I loved all of them, and I think Kristen Wiig obviously did not have the longevity that Kenan Thompson did or anything, but I think she occupied a similar space in that you could put her in anything and she wouldn't miss a beat, you know. And I think that's something Kenan also stands out for, except he doesn't. The thing that distinguished Kristen Wiig is that if she was in it, she was going to be the funniest part of the fucking skit.
That's what I was going to say. Like the biggest difference is you could put her in anything, and she was going to be the one.
She was going to be the one.
She was shining,
and that's why, like, when I look back on SNL and I think of Kristen Wiig, I think she is the funniest person I've ever fucking watched on that show.
Yes.
So, Kristen Wiig is my favorite SNL cast member ever.
I love it.
Yeah. So go 1 to 5 for me one more time to conclude here.
So I'm going to go 5 to 1.
5 to 1. Do
5 Kenan, 2 Kate McKinnon, 3 Bill Hader, 2 Will Ferrell, 1 Chris Farley.
Love it. I went 5 Kenan, 4 Maya Rudolph, 3 Fred Armisen, 2 Bill Hader, and 1 Kristen Wiig. And with that, we can conclude this episode of the Penny Bloom Podcast. We've got Sunday Night Football to watch.
Chiefs are playing right now.
Yeah, they're on. I bet
they're winning.
We'll be back next week, and we'll be sure to get in a recommendation for the following week. This next
we're
time
off this week on recommendations.
Yeah, I think we can take the week. I mean, like, we don't need to blitz a whole other show now that we did the take a week to watch what you want to watch. I'm glad I watched The Offer. But we'll take a breather.
Yeah.
We'll come back and discuss what we did watch. Then we will be back next week. We've got a lot coming up on the show. Penny Bloom Dispatch on Friday. Death by Television starts tonight. We're covering The Penguin. We'll be doing that week to week for the next 8 weeks. We've got Fulcrum, a Star Wars podcast on Wednesdays. The Cinementalist is a couple weeks from starting. We got a lot of stuff. Follow on Twitter at Penny Bloom Pod. That's where you'll get updates on anything we might be doing. You can go to patreon.com/PennyBloomPod and support the podcast financially. We're not putting out a lot right now because we're unfortunately not doing video stuff right now. But when we do video again, that's where everything's going to go.
You'll need me on video.
Actually, we won't be able to do video ever.
I got a face.
we won't ever do video. I mean, it's just, Joe does all the video stuff. So, but yeah, and that. So basically, right now you're just supporting me. $1.50 a month is all that you're helping put the podcast on because it costs me money and I don't make any off of it. I like to be as transparent as possible about that right now because there's not a lot of new stuff going up. However, there's a ton of old stuff, so you're not losing much.
Check it out.
A ton of stuff, 100 hours of stuff, bunch of stuff to read, tons of stuff. Yeah, leave a 5-star rate and review wherever you might be listening. Download the episode. I'd appreciate it. And we'll be back next week. I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by my father, Justin Robertson. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. I love you, buddy.
I love you, too. And with that, remember, peace, love, and bloom, and go Chiefs. Yeah.